Hello, quantum community. Welcome to this wonderful weekly series where we ask you, what questions do you have on love and relationships? I'm going to be joined today by my colleague and co-facilitator, Shawn Christian. Shawn, I'm sure you'll be coming in here. Hi, Yolanda. Great to see you, beauty. Hi, Adrian. Welcome. And let's see, I might have to, hola. See if I can get Shawn in here.
I'm
Hello, you
alive.
did it.
I'm in. Yes, I did.
Hi.
Wow. This has like been a
Hi, it's
couple
so good to
days of
see you.
technical kind of glitches for me. So yeah, I think it's a lesson in patience. That's for sure.
Well, isn't that the truth? That is like one
Right?
of the, I think, primary life lessons along the path of self-mastery.
Oh my
Well,
God.
it's good to
That's
see you,
true.
Shawn. It's such a delight
Wow.
to have these weekly conversations where we're also now inviting our community to bring their questions, their curiosities,
Yeah.
their challenges about love and relationship. And I was just mentioning that we are going to be talking about weathering the storm of betrayal today. And of course, betrayal is something I think every single person on the planet, right? Every adult can
Oh yeah.
relate to in some capacity, whether it's with family members, with office, right, career, or of course in our primary relationship with our loved ones. And here's the other thing that I just want to preface our conversation with is that we often forget about the ways that we betray ourselves. So
Good point.
perfect, Shawn. Yes. So bring all of your questions as we start to dive into this topic today. One of the things I also want to preface our conversation with is that betrayal is not always the enormous, highly significant betrayals that we look at of infidelity or perhaps economic betrayals with our partner in our primary love relationship. Sometimes they can be a little bit more subtle,
Mm-hmm.
right? When our partner puts someone else's opinion, perspective above our own, right? We all know that there are the more subtle ways that we are hurt through acts of betrayal in our lives. So today, Shawn and I are going to be sharing some of our top tips on how you can weather the storm of betrayal. Go ahead and start to add your questions here or any experiences that you'd like to share. Shawn, I want to pass the baton to you for a
Yeah.
moment so you can connect in on this topic. I know we could talk for hours and hours on this, but we'll just touch
Right.
in and know that we're going to be adding this aspect to our in-person programs that are coming up in Malibu
Mm-hmm.
in May and also in Santa Barbara at the end of April. So we
Yeah.
invite you to join us for these deeper dives, these life elevating immersive experiences where you can transform in the moment in sacred community, which of course is all the more powerful. But
Absolutely.
baton to you, my
Yeah.
friend.
No. Thank you so much. Aloha, everybody. Excited to be here. I see Bonnie out there. I think I saw Yolanda pop in there. I see some familiar faces, which are fantastic. I always appreciate being here. I think it's one of these things. And then seeing people show up is
Yeah.
pretty powerful and amazing because, we are struggling. Everyone has their unique struggles, but we're all trying to be better, ultimately, human beings. That's the
Yeah.
goal, right? And for this particular topic, when we're trying to be the best human being we can possibly be on this planet, and then we experience a betrayal, or
Mm.
we actually are the ones who have betrayed somebody. I've been on both sides of that coin, really, to be honest with you, right? And what is a betrayal, right? It's a deliberate act of disloyalty. That's sort of like the definition. So
Mm.
everyone has their unique, as you were saying, experience with betrayal. And it doesn't always have to be infidelity with a partner. It can be a corporate betrayal. It can be in any facet of your life, but it's something that is unique to each and every one of us. But I would encourage everyone, first of all, this: if you've encountered betrayal, or you feel the sense of pain from the past, where you haven't been experienced full loyalty and commitment, I
Mm.
first of all encourage you to look within, because that's where everything starts. Because the minute you start focusing on the person who has betrayed you and you're obsessing, whether it's a person or a business or whatever, and you're obsessing about, oh my God, they did this to me. Now you're in this victim mindset, and you're allowing them still to hold this power over you of pain, right? Yeah, go ahead. It's not like you had a thought there.
No, I love what you're saying, because it's so important that, you know, in first, in the moment, we want to acknowledge that when you are betrayed, when anyone is betrayed, there is immense pain, right? And it brings up so much, especially if we have a pattern of being betrayed from the past, right? And then sometimes it becomes a little bit more difficult to see what's happening in the present with clarity. But what you're saying is so important, Shawn, because our first inclination is to blame.
Right.
And we know that nobody wins in the blame game, right? Because that
Right.
brings us back into victim consciousness. And so we need to really step back from the situation first to make an assessment of what's happening. Is this a previous pattern that is repeating itself? Or perhaps is this a more isolated experience with an individual that perhaps we are not aligned to be in relationship with? So there are so many levels to be able to kind of unwind these patterns of betrayal, experiences of betrayal that we have in our lives. But I love where you were going with that. I just wanted to add that in. So
No,
go ahead, keep going.
it's absolutely great. And just, we talked about this before with grief and pain. And by the way, it is going to be, listen, no one's going to sit here and look, you need to get over it. You need to move on. You know, we talked about weathering the storm. That means you're in process always. Just remind yourself you're in the process. Okay, I'm in the process of what, Shawn? What am I doing? Right? You're healing. You have now an opportunity to heal something, from the past, but you get to look within. So, by the way, you're going to be able to do this at your own pace. And if you're not ready to heal, I can't sit here and tell you, you know what, it's time to heal. Adora can't say it's time to heal. Though I will encourage you, we will both go, there is no value in hanging on the pain of the past. There really isn't, other than to heal and learn and grow from it. Yes. So what is the value of that, right? That is the process. So if you go, okay, and I felt this, I'll just, from the entertainment business, which I never even anticipated. And I was like, why do I feel so like, And I felt at some point, the entertainment business, I didn't even articulate this. I'm like, why am I so frustrated, so disappointed, so disheartened? Where's this coming from, right? Instead of blaming the external world or whatever, I went, wow, I felt this sort of industry or whatever had my back, and we were in this together, and we were going to keep growing, and I'm just so blessed to do TV shows or whatever, but it stopped. So I had to go, I felt betrayed by an industry who welcomed me with open arms, was now saying, no, I don't want you, right? And that in a relationship, right? So find your own path and equate your own, experience with this. But I had to go, okay, it is time for me to stop hanging on to this. This is no longer serving. I'm going to go through this. So the two things I talked about before, I mentioned this with the 5 A's of transformation, just acknowledge it for what it is in the moment. If the pain of the past is stronger than the joy of the present, think about let's just look at those two. If the pain of the past is stronger than this joy of the present moment, you're going to keep repeating this cycle of betrayal. And it's like, it's a cut by 1,000 moons or something like that. Get cut 1,000 times, something like that, right? So, but you are allowing yourself to feel that. And you should, by the way, right? I'm not saying dismiss them, don't put the feelings under the rug, but process them. And I mean, when I say acknowledge, first of all, list them. I feel like crap. I feel hurt. I feel like no one loves me. I feel so small. I feel insignificant. I feel irrelevant. Like they can come to my head because I've been through this, right? List them without judgment. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge the other person. Don't judge the moment. Wow, I feel like this.
It's so powerful when we acknowledge our feelings, because if we do not acknowledge them, we compound them, compact them, depress them, and they continue to project reality and experiences that we don't want until we let them be free, which means feeling them,
Yeah,
right?
and you nail
Yeah.
it. Okay, so let's just take those beautiful words. Let them be free.
Hmm.
So ultimately, that's okay, what is my intention of this process? I want to be free of this pain, of this connection, of this person experience who betrayed me. And if you really think about it, I mean, and this is easier when you look back, go, do I want to continue to connect with someone who's hurt me so deeply? I'm not saying like if someone's betrayed you in your marriage or infidelity or a relationship that you just need to cut ties. I'm not just saying that automatically. But what I'm saying is to really have a moment of like, do I want this in my life? And how can I heal this? Which is,
Yeah.
to the bigger process, the bigger picture is how can we heal this? So acknowledging this is how I feel, accepting it, go, this, where is my life current? I'm going to accept this is where I'm at. I can't fix anything that I'm not aware of. I can't, right? I can't, if anybody's here who's struggling with whatever it is, there's no way to fix what you're not aware of. So first of all, just be aware without
Yeah.
judgment, with love, compassion,
We don't
right?
know what we don't know, right? And
100%.
we certainly can't feel what we don't know if we don't allow it to rise to the surface, to be released. And I think this is such an important part because, in truth, I've experienced betrayal from every perspective: family members, business partners, love relationships, in deep, deep partnership. And so because of this experience, I end up having a lot of clients and couples that come to me and say, well, how do I trust again? How do I love again? How do I open myself again? And so this is where, coming back to the conversation about acknowledging our feelings and releasing them, is so important, because if we don't do that, they become a toxic poison for our hearts and souls.
Yeah.
So
And go ahead. Yeah.
go. No, what did you want to say?
What you just said is a beautiful, like toxic and
Mm.
poison. And I used to say that when I was like, what is happening? I just feel like I swallowed some poison or something. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So ask yourself, and this is when you start to, when does change begin? When you go, I am done. You, not me, not Adora, not your neighbor, not, we're here to encourage you to go, I am so done feeling this way.
Yeah.
I am done. I am done feeling everything I just listed off. That right there is a beautiful moment when transformation begins. When you go, that's it. When the pain of the past, actually, when the beauty of the moment is greater than the pain of the past,
Mm.
you will start to transform your life at that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
At
Yes,
that,
I want to.
yeah,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead. I can't
um,
see any questions, so I
yeah.
don't have any scrolls here.
I just want to answer Yolanda, and someone else a few minutes ago asked about how we can move out of the resentment. So I want to give you this 3-step system that is practical and accessible, and you can do in the moment anywhere. So when you are faced with betrayal, regardless of where it comes from, we know we get activated, right? We start to feel the emotion, the anger, the sadness, the grief, whatever the emotion is, starts to rise to the surface. So the first step is to hold your heart. And you do this through physical contact with yourself and a breath. So the hold your heart breath is just placing your right or your left hand on your own heart to make that physical contact with yourself, to take a deep breath in and hold a place of love and compassion for yourself first and foremost. Because whenever we're dealing with betrayal, always bringing back the attention to ourselves with love, compassion, and learning how to love ourselves no matter what is the path of liberation, right? It is the path of freedom. So that is the first step. The second step is to step back, right? To step out of blame and step into the present moment and really look at the situation. Is this a pattern that you continue to have in your life through different relationships? Or is this an isolated situation and you really need to evaluate whether that individual has a place of honor in your life? Because when we make the choice to only allow individuals to love, honor, and respect us, the universe, the forces of reality around us help us to create that reality and that new experience. So that is the secondary step of really getting to understand what is happening in the moment, and in doing so acknowledging your feelings about it. The third step is, and we talked about this before, is the love code breath technique. Because when we have those emotions that we're carrying and they become toxic for us, it doesn't affect the other individual, right? So we have to honor ourselves, love ourselves, and be able to move those energies out of our system so we can come to a different level of self-understanding. And those 3 breaths were release, forgiveness, and gratitude. Now, it's not a release like, oh, I just have to force myself to let this go. No, it's a way of loving and caring for ourselves to say, I need to release this emotion that is feeling trapped right now in my body, so it does not become that resentment, so it does not become that heaviness, so it doesn't become that poison that we carry around with us. And so having that inner breath and the exhalation is release and letting go. Now, forgiveness is so important, and it doesn't have to do with the other person. It's not about forgiving another person, because we can't do that until we are ready for that. But we can bring in the energy of forgiveness into our being as a healing balm, because it paves the way for grace, right? And we know that grace brings great solitude. And then the breath of gratitude is where we bless ourselves for the courage and commitment to change, to transform, to elevate our experience of harmony, of love, and vitality in our lives. So these are 3 steps that you can also use anytime, anywhere. Very simple and yet profound. Shawn, I want to pass it back to you.
No, it's true. Forgiveness does not happen until you start to forgive yourself and not blame yourself, which is a big, I know you made a great distinction there, but understanding what true forgiveness is. You're not here to manipulate or control the lives of anybody else. It becomes, by the way, exhausting and wasted energy that, to Adora's point, you could be using to love yourself. Just a fifth of the resentment or the frustration or the disheartened disappointment. Again, they're real human emotions, and thank God we get to have them all, right? Because they help feel alive. I know it sounds great. I always talk about, let's create a life that makes us feel alive. Well, people are like, I feel alive, but I'm just feeling this, right? Great. I mean it great in a way that allows you to transform into something greater. Because if everything was like this, right? Oh, there's my hand. Right? What happens? If our life was literally like this, right? If I just did an EKG, you're dead. If your life is like this, it means you're alive.
Yeah.
Life is happening for you, not to you. That's just a huge, huge Kyle, if my life was like this, you're right. I wouldn't be doing anything. I have highs, exhilarating highs, and soul-searching lows almost weekly, but I love it because it's helping me grow.
Or sometimes daily.
Yeah, exactly.
Right
100%.
Yeah.
So just that part of it, that forgiveness of, yourself. And ultimately that third step, the idea of like, okay, great. What am I now creating? What do I want to manifest? You won't create anything greater than the thoughts that you continue to think unless you start to envision that future self, that future life, right? So now this is the beauty part of any transformation, is you're getting into the habit of taking your thoughts and feelings out of the past and just bringing them into a present at the very
I love that.
right?
Yeah.
It's just gratitude.
It's
You're
so
like, well, that's great, Shawn.
true.
What am I going to be great? That's great, but I got all this other thing. What am I going to be grateful for? I'm like, can you hug someone? Do you have 2 arms? I mean, don't mean to be funny about it, but I'm literally like, wow, what a powerful gesture to hold someone's hand who may be hurting, or someone who just needs a hug or a smile. That's it. That's a gift. That is an absolute gift, and to be grateful for that, because there are countless people, and I'm sure many of us know them, who would be delighted to be walking and getting out of and to look at somebody and look at the sun and feel the sun on their face and just make someone smile, or to be smiling at looking at a tree or a river, or you name it. There's countless people who would love that moment. You have it right now, right? That's a practice. It sounds simple, but wow, it can be awe-inspiring because you decided to create it. And you're getting in the habit of going, wait, focus. Well, here comes the pain of the past. Here comes that resentment. Okay, let me train my mind, right? I'm training my thoughts don't own me. I'm going to own my thoughts and bring myself back to the present moment over and over
I
and over.
love it. I love it. You know, the truth is there is infinite potential in this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we started this conversation about love being the new currency and our return on our investment being priceless because it is the depth of love and meaningful relationships that bring us the most fulfillment, because we are biochemically and emotionally wired to bond deeply with another. So in this moment, you can pick up the phone, you can send an email or a text to somebody perhaps you've been out of touch with that means the world to you, simply to let them know. And in doing so, the fulfillment, the great biochemical release of the brain, of the dopamine, the good feeling chemicals, comes so easily. Welcome, Ukraine.
It's so,
We send you
so
blessings.
you,
So, so carpe diem, pick up this moment, pick up the phone, send a message, and let them know how much they mean to you.
it's fantastic. And look how simple that gesture is. You've taken your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions off of this obsessive pain and actually shared a loving experience with someone else. As simple as it is. You're like, well, I don't know who I could call right now. I'll tell you what, write yourself a love letter. If you're like, I
Oh,
don't know, you
I love
write
that.
yourself a love letter about how amazing you are. What an extraordinary human
Mm.
being. You're kind, loving, compassionate. Really think about the gifts that you have right here, right now. And I encourage you to celebrate. I talk about, give yourself a day date, right? Or a play date, right? We do, literally go on a date with you and celebrate the fact that you are learning and growing. If you're here, you're already invested in yourself. I'm sure there's countless other things you're doing. But man, please take the time to celebrate what a blessing your life is. Take yourself on a walk, take yourself out to dinner, take yourself to a movie, whatever it is, but find a way to connect deeper to your own humanity with gratitude and love. And if it's a love letter, mail to yourself and you'll get it in 2 days or whatever. I don't know. Up here in the snow, it seems like it'll be here in a week. But wow. And it'll be
So
a great
powerful.
reminder.
I
Yeah, it's a great
love
reminder
that.
of how amazing you are.
That is such a powerful practice. Well, we're close to wrapping up, but I just want to mention, Bonnie, to your question, just so we can close this session in really addressing as many questions as possible. You mentioned about your sister and about not getting along. I have a very similar experience of that, and I know how deeply painful it can be. If you can go back to the technique we talked about with first holding your own heart, holding yourself in a place of love and compassion for everything that's happened in the past, and find a place within you where you do feel a sense of love and connection with your sister, and just hold that vision. Doesn't have to have any expectation with it. You can see her surrounded in golden light. You can send her that frequency of love when it feels authentic within yourself. But first, bring that love to you. it always comes back to ourselves. Now, for all of you that are going to be joining us in California in a few weeks, we can't wait to meet and be with you in person. For those of you that would like to attend one of our in-person events, either in Santa Barbara or our beautiful 2 Sacred Relationship and Manifest Your Soulmate retreats in gorgeous Malibu, you can visit thesoulinstitute.co for information on those events, and or to schedule a discovery call with either myself or Shawn if you have questions. And we can't wait to be with you. And we'll also see you next week.
Yes, we will. All right. Thank you all. I didn't get a chance to see the questions, but I'm glad we got a chance and you can see them. So I'm just grateful to be here. So thank you all. Thank you, Adora.
Well, thank you so much, Shawn.
All right.
Talk to you
Have a
soon.
beautiful day.
Blessings, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye.